Hi, this is Joni with Silver Lining Garden, and I wanted to do a little piece about using my raised beds because some of you have asked about them and what I used. So what I did not use with the Vega beds. That everyone says that that's what this looked like, and yes, true, it does, but that's a little over my price range, so I started looking for something else, and I found on Amazon another company called Aador, and I got them cheaper. But let me tell you, the drawback to using another brand besides the Vega brand is that Vega is probably sure to have the same raised bed again if you want to put more in later, which is what happened to me. If you can look and see in the back of this picture, I got the 3 in back first and put them in, and they were $99 a piece, which was great. Then I decided to put 2 more in, and they didn't have the silver anymore, which is what I would have preferred to do, not because I don't think the green is pretty, but because I wanted it to match, of course. And that didn't happen, so I got the green because that was my next best favorite. And so I got the 2 that you see in the front, and then decided I needed to do this other one in the front, and they didn't have that size in green anymore, so I had to get this bigger size, which turns out to be my favorite. It's just great. It's like a 1/2 inch taller, and it's a full 7 feet, I think. Bottom line, I'm pretty sure that I'm finished putting in any more beds because I have encroached upon my husband's yard about as much as I can. I'll show you a picture of the original garden, which really was just 3 tubs, so you can see how it started out to what it's come to now. Now that I've explained that, let's go a little bit further and say that some of you may not know that I have been gardening with the straw bale system for quite a while, and I decided to change from that because it was getting too expensive to buy the bales, and it was actually more economical to go and put the raised beds in and use them year after year and just amend the soil than buy 15 or 20 bales of hay. I do want to say about that is it is a great idea if you're growing on concrete or you're living in a house that you rent and you can't put in anything permanent like this, and even this is not permanent, because you can see my husband is here putting together these beds, and they all go together with just a screwdriver and a drill, so they could easily be taken apart and taken down if someone that buys our house later is not a gardener, God forbid. But anyway, that is why I switched over to the raised beds, and maybe I'll be glad about it. I'm not sure. I really enjoyed working with the straw bales, and I did great. It grew great food, and it's certainly something that I would recommend. So let's move on and talk about how I put these beds together. Like I said, I got these from Amazon. They were cheaper than some of the more expensive ones that you see out there. I got them at different price points because I didn't buy them at the same time because I didn't plan ahead. But what we do is we put these together just with a little screwdriver. My husband used a drill to tighten up the bolts on the inside, and then you can see there's a rubber tip that goes around the top to keep anybody from hurting themselves. And then we use the lasagna method to fill them up because it would take a lot of dirt if you didn't. So what we started off was some cardboard that we covered the bottom with, and after that we come back in there with sticks, and we had just been pruning some jasmine that died in the freeze, so anything like that we could find in there. We even put some wood that we got from a couple of limbs that fell, so that goes in there next. And then the next layer that we put in was a good nice 2-inch probably level of leaves that we got from the garden, which worked out really well. And then after that we began to put the materials in, and I started out because I had all those hay bales that you saw earlier have deteriorated to the point where they made some just gold compost, and that is a level of that went in there next. Some of it was not completely broken down from the hay bale, but a majority of it was. And really is going to make a really good base of compost. Then after that, we came in with a couple of bags of compost, and then after that, a mixture at the top of some potting soil, and mixed in some peat moss that came from Canada, because I want to be very careful about where we source the peat moss from. And then we began to just mix that all together, and then I put in some 13 fertilizer in there. There is also some alfalfa pellets, which I didn't show in any of these pictures, but there is some alfalfa pellets, and then that brings it up to the top. Now notice that that dirt that is sitting at the top is absolutely going to settle and move down inside. After that, we took the cattle panels that we had, that you saw earlier, that were with the hay bales, and set them back up to, be used on this, because this front row here will be tomatoes, and I will use that. So now I have two areas. I have the tunnel, the grow tunnel there, and where I grow green beans and cucumbers, and then this one will be for tomatoes. And in the fall, I use it for some other things, like the fall squashes. I'll also put a link to the raised beds that I bought on Amazon. You have to keep looking and see if there's some of those other companies. They come out of China with some of the cheaper raised beds, if that's something that you want to do. If you want to get all the same color and you want to be absolutely sure that you get the same size and the same color, then you have to spring for all of them at once, because there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to do that if you put them in a little at a time. So ask questions if you need to, and you know the story. Get out in the sunshine, get your hands in the dirt, and grow some food.